spoke to Catterall-Linares. He looks younger than before.
Yeah.
He looks in good shape. For Jack, what does this mean? How much of a performance does he need to put in before he can look at World
Yeah,
Cup?
look, I mean, I joke about Sam Jones doing my head in, and I like him a lot. He's a very good manager, but they are doing my head in for a big fight, and I have to deliver that. But what comes with that is the need of a big performance, and I think we keep talking about the need to entertain, the need for that big performance, and that is what it can only be measured on. So if I'm Jack Catterall, I'm looking at two fights. It's the winner of Haney Prograis and it's the winner of Josh Taylor. But you have to put the performance in a fight like this to make everybody excited about that fight, and which they are. Do you know what I mean? But I feel for him a little bit because I know Linares will give everything on Saturday. He's not a fighter that's coming over for a payday. He's not the fighter that just coming over saying, "Oh, I'll just have one more and retire." What he's done is he's gone, "I'm going to give this 16 weeks of everything. In 8 weeks with Salas or whatever he's done, and I'm going to win this fight, and I'm going to have a massive fight against whoever that might be, Ryan Garcia, the winner of Haney Prograis, Josh, I don't know." So, but Jack, if he's the fighter that we believe he is, has got to put that performance in. I believe he will on Saturday night, and then after that, we can start talking about the massive fights. But coming off the back of last week, I think it's like it's really sharpened the mind to what we need to do for the product. Not just in the build-up and the promotion across social, but the actual product in the ring. Because that's where we've got the best chance. Because boxing is, for me, the most exciting sport in the world. But we've got to get it right, and the fighters have got to perform. And I think, just like I said, just sharpen the mind to what we need to do.
Just going off that, Froch said it's diabolical, Misfits, and it probably needs to be stopped. But
yeah, do you know what? I wish people. But listen, I love Carl Froch like a brother, right? What is with all this? It needs to stop. Who has the right for it to stop? It's not taking any money out of boxing, right? It's not taking any opportunities away from fighters. Now, I was there at 6 o'clock. The place was full. No one left their seat all night. My daughter went to me, "This is the best night I've ever had." This is after the two main fights, right? I'm sitting there as an old man going, "This is absolutely dreadful." Like, the earlier fights were quite fun, but like the two main fights, but what a product. Like, there's this, we're strange people, us Brits, where it's like, disgrace. So why don't we look at ourselves and say, we need to do better, right? We need to be smarter. We need to sharpen the pencil. We need a better product. Because I tell you what will happen at the moment, as I said, no one in boxing is losing out to YouTube boxing. If we don't do better over time, the people who run the networks, who run the streaming companies, will look at the numbers. Don't forget, these fighters aren't making money in relation to the size of the show. You've got fighters, I've got fighters, probably in a fight that you don't even know is happening, that is making twice as much money as Salt Pappy and Slims combined in a fight they can't lose. So purses are out of control. We're giving too much respect. We're giving too much of the decision to the manager and the advisor. We have an obligation to bring a fighter through at the right speed, but we also have the right to say no. And we can't be so egotistical to hold on to someone that's not willing to have the right fight because we don't want to lose them to another broadcaster or another promotional company. I've had fighters who have parted ways with us, who at the time is like, damn, and then 12 months later you look at it and you go, what a result I've had there. Because when they sign a new contract, they sign a new contract for a couple of easy fights. Do you know what easy fight means? Load of shit. No one's interested, sells no tickets, waste of time for fight fans. So I'm going to use whatever we're seeing at the moment as an excuse to try and make better fights. And I think we're on the right path, but we've got to be strict on that.
Before I pass you on to the others, Azeez has been on TalkSport. He sort of mentioned you in a comment. He said, because obviously he's questioned the injury and whether it was legitimate, but he just wanted to sort of give his thoughts. For someone of his stature to put a narrative like that out about me is distasteful, it's malicious as well as harmful. While he's probably having a snigger with his mates, how we getting one over the bench along, he's messing up my image. I'm from a community where a lot of things are happening that are bad. I'm trying to be some sort of role model. it's messing up my
I never said that Dan Azeez has faked his injury. What I said was, because they asked me, and I said a couple of weeks ago, I'd heard, and I made it clear in all my interviews, just a rumour. And we know, everybody knows how tickets are doing, right? Who works within the industry. It's not a secret. And we were told that the fight was going to be pulled. Now, it ended up not happening. I certainly don't think that Dan Azeez is the type of individual that would pull a fight because he was asked to pull it. I do believe he's injured. So in that respect, again, you never hear me say, what I did say was, it's quite unusual for an injury like that to happen on fight week. Absolutely it is. On a Tuesday or a Wednesday of fight week, it's very unusual. Again, I don't believe that Dan Azeez is the kind of character that would pull out of a fight injured. I did an interview with you guys where I just said, I've heard the fight's not happening. They're going to pull the fight. Eventually it got pulled, but probably for a completely different reason. Who knows? In America, especially after the Showtime stuff, they're calling me Mystic Ed. But for Dan Azeez, proper fighter, old school fighter, and I'm sure he is injured. But we'll see how and when and if that fight get rescheduled.
Eddie, the rest of that card being moved to your court, or just sticking with kind of VO2 front. Obviously, you had Eubank Jr-Benn fall apart in fight week. How much kind of financially of a hit will that be for Boxer when you compare to? I know that obviously Eubank Benn was a larger fight, but I just mean the site itself.
An absolute result for Boxer. Because what happens is, to educate, not being facetious, but you have a show that's losing an absolute fortune, right? And all of a sudden it doesn't happen. Then you have an undercard that costs virtually nothing in comparison, that you still get a rights fee for, not the same kind of rights fee, but you get an opportunity to get out of jail. I've been there before. There's a fight that you're doing your conkers on, sold a couple of thousand tickets, the fight's costing £1 million. It's a disaster, and it falls through. But you've still got to do the fight, so it doesn't really, I don't know how it's going to be rescheduled, but when you've got a massive fight that's making a load of money, and it falls through, then it's a real kick in the nuts. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you have to suffer the costs. So it's messy for them. And by the way, they've done well to keep that fight on and make sure that the fighters can get paid. For us, obviously, I never celebrate it, but now all the focus is on Catterall-Linares over who you're going to watch, and but yeah, when you've got the numbers wrong on a show and it falls through, you do save yourself a fortune compared to the losses that you no longer suffer.
Showtime leaving boxing, Eddie, that's been confirmed. Now just get your thoughts on that and the reports that they will somewhat have conversations with DAZN.
Yeah.
PBC, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, like, we've had a lot of shit thrown at us from Showtime, from Stephen Espinosa, particularly Leonard Ellaby and so forth, and I'll always give back and forward. And I really feel like the opportunity to sit there and say, ha ha, told you so, isn't a good look, because at the end of the day, I think Showtime did a brilliant job for boxing, and I think they've had a great year. But I did say, 2 years ago, whatever it was, the business doesn't work for Showtime. And the reason they lasted so long was because of the stubbornness and the competitiveness of Stephen Espinosa, who wouldn't give in. But the writing was on the wall. When I gave that interview, I knew there were conversations taking place where they were looking at boxing and saying, I think it needs to go. But they stuck in there, they gave great fights, they built pay-per-views, and they've been a tremendous asset to the sport. So whilst the competition's so rife, when someone can no longer be part of that competition and effectively you win that race, it's still a blow to the sport. Because like when HBO left, it's still a blow. It's just, look, 3 years ago, we saw a change in trend in terms of the way that live sport is going to be delivered to fans. And we believed streaming was the absolute future of the sport. Certain members of that team piped up about, we would never let a fight on an app. And now the same company are trying to get on the app, right? So we knew this was going to happen, and we knew what the future of live sport and content would look like. If PBC joined DAZN, amazing. And now, without a broadcaster, you have no business. So right now, PBC don't have a broadcaster. They will be trying to do a broadcast deal. We've had a lot of fighters who are uncertain about their future that have been reaching out to us to try and sign with us. We have a long-term broadcast deal. But PBC is a good company. It has, some good fighters. If we could bring them to our platform, I think it'd be great for DAZN. We already know we're the global home of boxing, and we have a big future ahead. But if they can acquire PBC along the way and they can join the app, it'd be amazing.
It's no secret over the years, Eddie, you've had somewhat of a strained relationship with PBC. Where do things currently sit on that front now?
I don't think, at PBC, all of my contact really is with a man called Louis de Cubas, which not a lot of people will know. Very smart young man, a good, honourable young man. I don't have many friends in the industry, but I would class him as, I don't actually have a lot of friends, full stop. Like friends that you actually speak to like every day. Hello mate, how you doing? I don't really have any of them. But what I do have is a lot of people that I class as friends that I know that whatever happens, our relationship won't change. And over 5 years, all of my dealings with PBC has been with Louis de Cubas. And every deal I've ever done with him, and he will tell you, has been absolutely delivered to a T and vice versa. So when I need to make a fight with PBC, I do it with Louis de Cubas. I don't think I'm the favourite person outside of Louis to make fights with, and I hope that will change now because we've got a lot of opportunities to do that. Again, I think they're a good company, I think they're very aggressive, I think they've made some great fights, but the business has to work all round. I'm sure they're not going to go anywhere, whether they go with DAZN or another broadcaster, but it's difficult being broadcast-less, platform-less. Because you've got to go and do a deal, and without the deal, the company doesn't exist.
Eubank Jr-Benn, Eddie, where do things stand?
We've spoken to the board about staging the fight in the UK, and
Have you spoke to them about it taking place abroad as well?
It's irrelevant for them. Yeah, it's irrelevant for them. We feel legally that at the moment, the fact that Conor Benn won that case and he's no longer suspended, he should be cleared to fight in the UK. We haven't had a definitive answer, but there's a lot going on and we'll continue those conversations with the board. We hope we can find a resolution to make a mega fight. Both Conor Benn and Anthony Joshua, who are two of our biggest clients, are both on me non-stop to fight ASAP. So we know that December 23 could be a date that someone could fight, but it could also be Usyk against Fury. I'm not sure whether that would be a 17-week training camp for Tyson Fury with a fight in the middle for a fight like that. But if the money's right, then quite possibly. So we're balancing a lot between potentially creeping into January for that fight, but we would like to go December 23. The site fees that we've been offered for some of those fights also want to see what happens on December 23rd, because you don't want to do a big fight and then someone else has got Usyk Fury going the same night. It devalues both products, but both those guys desperate to fight ASAP.
Time for one more, guys.
Eddie, you want to get your thoughts on a couple of claims. First of all, Frank Warren said in an interview, I've credited it, escaped my mind, he said that Tyson Fury has now surpassed Canelo as the #1 face in the sport of boxing. Do you feel that he has a claim to that, given some of the promotion that's happening with this fight coming up with Ngannou and a potential fight with Usyk?
I think as a personality, possibly. I think he's very funny, and I think he's a tremendous character. In terms of legacy, in terms of achievement in the sport, absolutely not. In terms of purses, consistently, no. But Tyson Fury is a huge star. And look, we all know what's going to happen next week, but it's still a massive event. The problem comes, and again we saw this last Saturday, all the hype, all the build-up, all the promos, all the statues by the bridge, it comes down to the product. And when you sit down excited and invested, and you see a product that doesn't hold up, you feel let down, and you might just move away from something. So I hope that Ngannou can do something, but unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit like Logan Paul against Dylan Dennis.
KSI said in the aftermath of the fight, and this argument might hold a bit of water. If you're a professional boxer and you have a performance like that where it's close, maybe some people think that it was a robbery in terms of KSI should have won the fight. But you shouldn't be happy with that way that you've won the fight. Should Tommy Fury be happy? Should there be a rematch if he's a professional boxer as it's claimed?
I mean, should anybody be happy? with that fight. Like, I mean, really, at the end of the fight, they should have just said, we're actually not going to score this. It was really bad. We're sorry. We're just going to go home. Like, I mean, I actually thought sitting there that KSI edged the fight. Like, after 2 rounds, I thought he won both rounds, and one round was a 10-8, and then he didn't but no one did anything. But you know, the only thing I'll say to back Tommy Fury is, how do you fight someone doing that? But you've got to be good enough to like just find a way. But probably the worst fight I've ever. I mean, it was between that and Logan Paul. But what an event! But it still comes down to, I just feel like you won't have the longevity of the product if that's what you see. Because the hype and, you know, the whole occasion is amazing. But it's like, that's why we got to work harder on our product to make sure that it delivers time and time again.